Hello, this is Bob Staples, and I have the privilege of presenting another lesson to you. And where I'm coming from you recorded from my office, where I've done a lot of the lessons I've done with you in the past. So I do hope that this is an informative and encouragement lesson. I'm going to see if I could share my screen with you so that you could see my lesson here. So again, now you should be able to see me in the little corner there. I want to commend this congregation at Cedar Grove for having a series in the summer and have different people come visit. I want to let you know I'm very thankful for the lessons that I've been able to give to you before. And you may notice here some lessons that I gave in the past. Of course, I remember the first lesson we shared together, and that was Jesus, the master teacher. And I do think that was a very powerful start to my work with this good congregation. So let's take a look here. The title is under your theme of a 2020 vision. My lesson I'm calling The Christian's Response to Adversity. The Christian's Response to Adversity. And as I go through here, I want to explain what I'm doing and then get right to what we need to take care of. If you noticed a little picture of the mortar and pestle. Adversity. It can strengthen you if you're willing to grind it out. You know, we think about those events that happen in our lives, and we know it's not pleasant to have to be ground out, if you would. Let's continue our introduction here. It's said that experience is the best teacher. So those of us who have faced a lot of adversity, in a sense, we're in a good position to be able to help others to go through the hard times that they will be facing. I do want you to know, as far as this class, I'll try not to be too autobiographical, but I'll try to present some meaning along the way. Now, I have a passage I want to read to you. Okay, this is found in 2 Timothy 3 and verse 12. Yea, and all that would live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution. So here's the question: who will face adversity? These are very important. That's a very important idea to think about. Let's talk about a definition of adversity: a condition of suffering, destitution, or affliction, a calamitous of disastrous experience, a calamity. You are facing a adverse set of conditions, or some would like to say adversity is experiencing misfortune. So in our getting ourselves organized here, I do want you to know we're going to talk about some questions. I want to get right into the Bible, what it has to say in this area, get some teaching out from those passages, talk about maybe some examples, Bible examples. It would be good to have comments and discussion. It's going to be hard for us to do that here. And that's one thing I miss from a face-to-face class. And I do want you to know I'll do my best to make this a good adjustment to this type of teaching. And then I want to finish with a conclusion. And hopefully something will be said that will help you. So that's the plan. All right, a couple questions. Questions. What are real examples of adversity? When we think about that, of course, we can reflect upon our own life. We all face a lot of things in life. It could be health problems, it could be losing a job, it could be an accident we found ourselves in, it could be losing a child, it could be losing a parent. Some people experience fires in their house. It could be cancer. It could be financial ruin. It could be losing a spouse. It could be being mistreated. There are a lot of examples of adversity that we face, and being able to face them is no small matter, and that's what this lesson is about. When will the Christian face these? Well, we just read the passage that all that live godly in Christ Jesus will face persecution. It's not that the Christian is just looking forward to, some person giving them persecution. It's that if we live godly in Christ Jesus, we will. That is just a fact. So, when will a Christian face adversity? Continuously in their life, but not a little different each and every day, each and every week. This is something that a Christian needs to be aware of. That's part of signing up for the course. How will the Christian work through adversity? I believe this is the key question. When we face adversity, how do we respond? A preacher once said, "A Christian acts, doesn't react." I really like that. You see these people on the news. What's your reaction to this comment? What's your reaction to that picture? Well, a Christian doesn't react to everything. A Christian acts, but does so with knowledge, with advice from experience, and with a deep level of commitment to God and a faith that will help that person grind through the hard times in life. And sometimes people feel they are they're like being ground into that pestle and mortar, okay? And it's not pleasant at all. But how will they work through adversity? That's a good question. What does the Bible say about this topic? It should be very important for us to take a focus on the time of what the Bible has to say. If we don't do that, then we're really wasting our time. Who can the Christian go to in times of adversity? A Christian is a follower of Christ. A Christian's part of the family of God. So the Christian is not alone. Who can the Christian go to? We want to try to address those questions. And where does the help come from? I believe most people in an adult auditorium class will probably say, where does my help come from? My help comes from God. Think about all of the Psalms where David is pouring his heart out to God and the different things that he's facing. And how many times does David respond with, my help comes from God? Well, these are some opening questions for us to think about and related to the idea of adversity. All right, what I would like to do is look at all of these passages, and we're just going to take one after another. The origin of adversity, example of Nadab and Abihu, a warning from Deuteronomy. What should our attitude be? Something related to Judah, the prophets, this idea of redemption, the cross, the Apostle Paul, and a passage from Revelation. Let's look at these passages, and then we'll see what we can get from the meaning we see in these passages. Okay, here we go. Genesis chapter 3, 18 through 19. Genesis 3, 18 through 19. Okay. Here we see the consequences of the sin of Adam and Eve. In verse 17, he talks unto Adam saying, because you have hearkened unto the voice of your wife, there are some consequences. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and you shall eat the herb of the field. And in the sweat of your face shall you eat bread till you return unto the ground. For out of it wast thou taken, and for dust you are, and unto dust you shall return. All right, so in this passage in Genesis 3 and verse 18, we see the origin of adversity. And that has to do with the sin of disobeying God. So there are consequences to our actions, and sometimes it all goes back to our disobedience to God. Let's look at another passage, Leviticus 10, 1 and 2. So we'll just switch over there. And Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, took each of them his censer and put fire therein, and laid incense upon, and offered strange fire before Jehovah, which he had not commanded them. And there came forth fire from before Jehovah and devoured them, and they died before Jehovah. So Nadab and Abihu, facing adversity really because of their disobedience and not following the command of God. Deuteronomy 31. Let's go to that next passage. Deuteronomy 31. And let's go to verse 20, 21. For when I shall have brought them into the land which I swear unto the fathers, flowing with milk and honey, and they have eaten and filled themselves and waxed fat, then will they turn unto other gods and serve them, and despise me and break my covenant. And it shall come to pass, when many evils and troubles are come upon them, that this song shall testify before them as a witness, for it shall not be forgotten out of the mouths of their seed. For I know their imagination which they frame this day, before I have brought them into the land which I swear. So Moses wrote the song the same day and taught it to the children of Israel. We have in the book of Deuteronomy a statement where Moses is he's rehearsing the law, and he's saying if you follow God, good things will happen. If you don't, bad things would happen. And we know from the history of the Jews, especially the book of Judges, which we studied in a previous lesson, this cycle of obedience and disobedience and problems that happen or adversity. Let's go to another passage in Judges 21, 25. So I'm trying the best I can to go through the Bible in order. 21, 25. In those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did that which is right in his own eyes. What kind of culture, do we have when people do what is right in their own eyes? Here in Judges, we see their attitude toward God, and their attitude toward their own will. So that's an important verse for us to keep in mind. Let's look at another passage, 2 Kings 24. 2 Kings 24. All right, and let's see. Let's look at 18 through 20. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Jehovah, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. Well, let's see, do I need to go another verse? Yes. For though the anger of Jehovah did it come to pass in Jerusalem and Judea until he had cast them out from his presence. All right. So here's a passage where someone became king and he did not which was right, and he was cast out in his position. All right, let's look at another passage, Jeremiah 25 and verse 4. So Jeremiah, a big prophet, and Jeremiah 25 and verse 4. So if you get it before me, you're doing good. All right, so look at that again. And Jehovah has set unto you all his servants the prophets, rising up early and sending them. But you have not hearkened, nor inclined your ear to hear. Think about Isaiah. Think about Jeremiah. These people who presented the message of God to the people of their time. Let's look at 1 Kings 1:29. Sorry, I went backwards a little bit here. 1 Kings 1:29. And the king sware and said, As Jehovah lives, who shall redeem my soul out of all adversity? Verily I swear unto thee by Jehovah the God of Israel, saying, Assuredly Solomon thy son shall reign after me. Here we have a passage of talking that God's going to deliver us or redeem us out of adversity. And Matthew 26, of course, this is the end of the Gospel of Matthew, and we know what happens at the end of the Gospel of Matthew. Matthew 26 and verse 39. Okay. And he went forth a little and fell on his face and prayed, saying, My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass away from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. So here we see Jesus in the garden. When he says this cup, he means this experience of adversity he is going to face, and that is facing the cross and enduring the cross. So those are a couple passages. I want to finish up here. 2 Corinthians 11 and verse 25. 2 Corinthians 11, verse 25. Paul, in his talking about the things he endured, said, Thrice I was beaten with rods, once was I stoned, thrice I suffered shipwreck, and night and a day have I been in the deep. Think about all the afflictions that Paul experienced. And many of them were because he took his mission with God seriously and kept at it and was very faithful. Let's look at one more passage in Revelation 7. The congregation at Bremen did a study of the book of Revelation recently, and it was a good study. And we realized when we came through that study, we should have been reading more in the book of Revelation and using that more in our classes and our preaching, because there were things that were being left out. It's the only book in the Bible that says, blessed is he that readeth. All right, Revelation 7:13 through 17. 7:13. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, These that are arrayed in the white robes, who are they, and whence came they? And I said unto them, My Lord, you know them. And he said to me, These are they that come out of the great tribulation, and they washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore are they before the throne of God, and they served him day and night in his temple. and he that sits on the throne shall spread his tabernacle over them. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun strike them, nor any heat. For the Lamb that is in the midst of the throne shall be their shepherd, and shall guide them unto fountain of waters, and God shall wipe away every tear from their eyes. Okay, this passage talking about those that were Christians, those that were washed in the blood of the Lamb. And that theme goes through all throughout the book of Revelation. And from time to time, there are times that those that have suffered for Christ are asking how long, or they're asking when will we see divine justice. So as you go look at the book of Revelation, think about that group, and then think about members of the church that are living now and members of the church that have gone before. All right, so there are some passages on the topic. Let's see if we could make it switch here. Okay, hold on. Okay, let me get back to my lesson here. Sorry about that. So we looked at these passages. What do these passages teach? That's a good question. So if we're going to gain traction, if we're going to get insight, if we're going to come up with the truth of God, we have to look to the Bible text and look at what God had to say. So what do the passages teach? Well, I have a list. Well, they teach that adversity is part of life. They teach that there is an end. There is an end to adversity, but it's conditional. I like someone talked about the dash time is crucial. So on a gravestone, it says 1900 to 1950 or 1900 dash to 1950. It's the time that we spend in the middle. The time that we spend in our life every year, every month, every day is crucial. Another thing we learn is, I'm sorry, it seems like I'm rushing through here. Another thing that we learn is that some suffering we do bring on ourselves. That's hard to admit, but that's true. We also know that Jesus suffered greatly. Whenever we are in a situation, pain, it could be health, it could be a crisis, it helps us to remember that, no, Jesus did not fit that exact circumstance in his life, but Jesus did suffer greatly. And we could look to Jesus. Another thing we learn is that the Christian is not immune to adversity. So if we want an easy life as a Christian, we may be upset as we go through our lives. And another thing we learn in these passages, just like the prophets, that we must stay faithful to God and his message. So those are some things that we learn from those passages. All right. So with that in mind, let's look at the rest of the lesson. Well, first of all, do we have examples in the Bible of people who faced adversity? Well, here's a little, poster on real heroes. We all talk about heroes today in our lives. Here are some real heroes. How about Job? Okay. And the problem of suffering. And although he complained, and he did complain, and he did petition God, and he did express the arduous situation he was in, he did not deal foolishly with God, and God blessed him in the end. We think about the prophets. Sometimes I think it's hard for us to stick up for God in the culture, and and relate an important verse that people really need to hear. Think about Isaiah. Isaiah, he would preach and preach and preach, and the people would not respond, would harden their heart. And we're all like that we want people to like us, and we want things not to be too hard on people. Of course, as a classroom teacher in math, I feel that a lot. And I know that the students want things to be easier, in math class. But when we're talking about our relationship with God and facing the problems of life, it does not help to sugarcoat things or to water things down. And this is part of what it means to face adversity. How about Moses and the patience he needed to be able to lead the people? Hebrews 11, that, Hall of Fame of the faithful. The Gospel John, or John the Apostle, and his example to others. Jesus, we talked about him. The apostles. The apostles, they didn't make the top celebrity list. They didn't make the top 100 financial successful people of the time. Matter of fact, they were of that culture and of that world, they were despised. But in God's eyes, they were God's leaders of the church, or early Christians. We think about the early Christians, and we're recognized. We recognize Christian examples like the martyrs. I think of GBN and this man Don Blackwell, this brother, who I think him and his wife were on a four-wheeler, and there was an accident, and he is in a wheelchair. If you have seen his presentation at Polishing the Pulpit, I think that would be a very moving experience. That would be a good lesson to watch on a Wednesday night. I'd look that up. We could think of members of the church that have suffered. We could think of cancer survivors. We have a couple at our church that there was a tragic accident. He was on a tractor, and he had this little girl sitting next to him, and little girl fell off the tractor, and he ran over little girl. It's just, and she died. It was extremely, extremely tragic. I was thinking about this as I was presenting similar ideas before, and I was mindful of Heather Pruitt and her daughter. I think her husband Chuck. Okay, and the tragedy of her daughter and things that they went through because of the health difficulties that she had and she experienced. That's something that strikes, close to home to Cedar Grove. But all right, so these are all. I looked at Bible passages. We looked at Bible heroes. We looked at some examples of Christians. We all have suffered in various ways, and we all have been challenged in periods of adversity. All right. Let's talk about some concluding ideas of adversity. Let's take these one at a time. We will and do face adversity. Each and every one of us in one way or the other, some more than others. We talked about, are we going to react or are we going to respond? So the Christian thing to do would be to respond. What's a good example of this? Well, if you've ever worked with teenagers, I don't pretend to be a parent of teenagers. That should be a parent. But in working with teenagers, it is very easy to just react. But really, what's needed there is to respond. That's for their benefit. But when we think about ourselves, responding to adversity is something that really, it assumes we've had some training and understanding and some experience before. And that's the value of life experience, but also the experience of other people that have gone through similar things. I should title this section on concluding ideas about adversity with this title. When we face adversity, we could do three things. One, we could be broken. A lot of times that happens to us. We're broken and we stay broken. Or two, we could become bitter. If we all just think about it, a lot of times we see people get bitter about their health situation. It's easy to do. We have found ourselves probably doing that. Or we could get better. We could get better. We think about the faithful people of God throughout the ages, that hall of fame, if you would. We think about the adversity that they faced in their life that's recorded in the Bible for us. The things that were written aforetime are written for our learning, that through patience and comfort of the scriptures we might have hope. 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 4. Not everybody made it well, but there's a lot of good Bible examples of folks that faced. Job would be an example. Abraham would be an example. Jeremiah would be an example. So broken, bitter, or better. We want to be better. That's hard to do, but we think about that. Another thing to be mindful about is healing is available. Now, that's not saying all of our problems will go away, but healing is available to us. So we need to look to God. I know that we hear that a lot. You need to look to God. I get it. Okay. Learn to look to God. We look to a lot of things in our culture. Right now in our culture, we're looking to some resolution to problems in the culture. But whether it's a health problem, a family problem, looking to God. We also can be helped by recognizing that the church is not it's not a museum of very finely sculptured individuals in a perfected state. It's a lot better for us, and we'll have a lot less stress in our life if we look at the church as a hospital with sick people that are coming out of the world, stained with sin, having a lot of problems, people that are going through trials in their life that need encouragement, people that they need to build their Bible knowledge up, people that need the strength that only comes from God. The church is a hospital of people that are sick or are constantly battling the world. And if we look at it that way, it could kind of help us. We think about Romans chapter 8, and the final parts of that chapter where it talks about who shall separate us from the love of God. Can all of these things separate us? And the answer is no. And that's something to always remember in our daily lives. Let's look at this passage in 2 Corinthians chapter 4. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Okay, now I am going to try, see if I can get that back on. 2 Corinthians 4:17. For our light affliction, which is for the moment, works for us the more and more exceedingly an eternal weight of glory, while we look not at the things which are seen, but the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. So maybe that'll help us out. Question is, how do we respond? How do we respond to adversity? Well, we could be broken. We could be We could become bitter. That can happen to us without us realizing it, and spend years in a bitter state. We could be mad at other people. We could be mad at God, mad at the world, and that's not going to help us. Question is we want to get better. Now, some of you may not know this, but my wife has experienced some serious health problems. She had to have an operation, and then after the operation, the doctor said you have cancer, and the cancer has spread. So that was very serious, and it's June right now, and Lisa started her treatments. I'm trying to think, maybe last September, but she had a lot of trouble with the treatment. So let me show you a picture here if I can. Let's see, gotta go back here. Let's see, hold on. Nope. Okay, let me try that again. Hold on. Oh. In our house, Lisa made this cross stitch, and it's in a location in the house where I see it all of the time. Think about this. We weren't promised an easy life. We were promised help to live it. There's a little picture down there with the rainbow, Lisa's initials. You know, it's just not a motto. It's just not a good saying. It's something that comes from the heart of someone that's near and dear to you. And it's stitched with love. It's a message from the heart. Think about this. Jesus is the heart of God. And through the pages of the Bible, he communicates his great love for each and every one of us. And when we have adversity, which we will have, we must truly look to Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. May God help me, and may God help you to be able to look to God in the good times and the bad times. And whatever experience we have that we can use to help someone else along the way, know that the other person, knowing you have gone through something similar, is of tremendous value. So no matter who we are in the church, we all have a place and a role to support each other as we go through life and face the adversities that come our way. May God bless us, and may God bless you as you take that message, remembering all of the passages that we talked about, and put it together to make you a more effective Christian, a more caring Christian to your brothers and sisters, to your spouse, and to members of the church. May God bless you. And I pray, Father, I pray that you will accept my patience with the technology here, and know that I appreciate being able to deliver a message again to the Cedar Grove Church of Christ. May God bless your preacher and his wife, your elders, your deacons, each and every member. And I do hope that this summer will be a blessing to you as you strive to look at 2020 vision and to be able to serve God in a more fuller way and a richer way and more loving way as you go through this summer series and through your life. May God bless you. Bye.